Let's talk about intuition because our intuition right now is the single most useful skill for us to discern what is going on, where we want to go, what the hell is happening, and how we can deal with all of it and how we want to respond to all of it. So, our intuition, along with logic, can help us find paths in life, find us solutions, find decisions that we otherwise maybe would not have been able to discern and wouldn't have been able to find. So, our intuition and teaching ourselves how to use it is a key ingredient in the times that we live in. Especially during this Aquarius season and this Pisces season, you might have noticed that your intuition, your emotions, your memory of past times is heightened. And for some people, that is a comfortable thing. For other people, it's a very uncomfortable thing to suddenly be pulled away from this logical world into a world of more mystery, more dreams, more symbolism, more stories, more intuition overall. So, in order to help you deal with that and in order to kind of teach you what is important right now to make the right decisions and to find your path, we are going to speak about intuition today. If you don't know who I am, I'm Anya Esma. I've been on YouTube since 2018 teaching tarot and all kinds of spiritual or witchcrafty themes. So subscribe if you are into those kinds of things, and let's talk about the 5 things that I recommend being very aware of with regards to your intuition. So, first of all, I think it's really important to understand that your intuition doesn't work all at once sometimes. Sometimes intuition is just your subconscious mind collecting a lot of information from a lot of different places. It could be from your dreams, it could be from a book that you're reading, it could be from a show that you're watching and you're feeling a certain emotion towards it. It could be from situations in your everyday life that trigger you, or even situations that you're not thinking anything about, but that still kind of save a piece of info that you're going to need later. And especially with dreams, I feel this very often where I have a dream and I'm like, what does it mean? I need to understand right away. But very often, the meaning or the sense, the purpose behind something reveals itself later. So, the first lesson about intuition is to understand that it gives you puzzle pieces, it collects puzzle pieces in the background. And that's exactly why intuition is such a difficult thing, because then all at once something happens, everything makes sense. You have a thought, you have an insight, you have clarity, but at the same time, you're like, wait, where's the logic behind it? Well, the logic is your intuition and your subconscious mind that have been collecting information for a long time without you necessarily noticing. Sometimes you do notice, and during those times, you might be like, okay, I need to make it make sense now. But if it doesn't make sense yet, just wait. It will make sense. Just keep collecting those informations and keep trusting your intuition to collect those puzzle pieces, because it's not going to make sense all at once immediately. You need to collect first. So when you have memories of your childhood, that's something I've been having for the past few weeks, or you've had heightened emotions, you've had some insights, you have some, hunches about what's going wrong, what's going right, what you don't want any longer in your life. You've had all of that, but you don't know what this is going towards. It feels like something is building up, and trusting that rather than trying to force an answer, spending hours in meditation or laying the tarot cards 50 times about something. Sometimes you're just not meant to know the answer yet. No matter how many times you say, show me the answer in my dreams, show me the answer with the tarot cards, or no matter how many times you overthink about the situation, sometimes it needs time, and that is okay. For me, as an Aries, patience is not my strong suit. Maybe you feel the same way. We want all the answers at once, but intuition works slowly. Let me take a sip of water, and you should do the same so that I'm hydrated. Somehow I have some dust in my throat today. Anyways, the second thing you need to be aware of is that your intuition isn't just a nice to have thing. It is literally the key to life right now. It is the key to unlocking new visions of the future, new ways that you can go, whether that is completely changing your field of work, going into something that is maybe more offline or more sustainable for the environment, that in case of an apocalypse, you would be useful to other people. You know, we all have these thoughts, right? And sometimes it seems crazy to us, but sometimes we're also like, but maybe I would actually be happier if I was a carpenter or whatever it is that you are thinking about doing. And that is also like your intuition, hunches coming in and guiding you. And that is the absolute key to build a life that is sustainable in these times, because there is so much going on. There is so much randomness, so much evil, so many bad things happening in the world, so much inhumanity, that it's sometimes difficult to keep your mind on how you want to change the world and how you want to make the world a better place. And your intuition is so, so important for that. And that works quietly. It does work when you give space to it, when you let it collect information, but also you journal, you meditate, you give yourself the time to process all of that information, because your subconscious mind needs rest in order to process all of that. And it also needs to feel safe enough to process all of that. So, giving your nervous system the nurturing that it needs, making yourself feel safe, unlocks that key that makes no sense. But it does unlock the key. It unlocks the key to the door to whatever your path in life is. That is what intuition is. It is the key, and you need to caretake that key and make sure that you take it seriously and don't just try to swipe it away with logic. So the second lesson is realize the importance of intuition. Realize how much it is the centerpiece of figuring out where your life is going in times like these, where nothing makes sense anymore. And our little brains are trying to make sense of it, but there is no sense. There is no logic. There's feeling, there's emotion, there's healing, there is intuition. And that is the guide for us. If you want to go deeper with all of this, before I move on to the third part, I want to tell you that I do have a Patreon where I have a reading for March right now that also goes a lot into these kinds of topics and telling apart what is actually a challenge that you're meant to meet and what is just a challenge that you need to dodge and a challenge that is redirecting you, because that's one of the intuitive questions that follows so many of us. What is something where I have to step up to a challenge, and what is a challenge that is trying to redirect me and trying to make it difficult so that I take a different path? I talk about that in the March reading. I also have journaling prompts, I have affirmations, I have collective tarot readings, and I have essays over there. There's a lot of content from the past few years of my Patreon, and I would love, love, love if you joined me there. So take a look at that with the link in the description. It's just patreon.com/Anya Esma. And that is that. So let's move on to the third point that we have. I think in our society of instant gratification, we think that intuition needs to happen quickly as well. I already said intuition moves slowly, it moves quietly, and I think in order for your intuition to really be able to advance and expand, you need to slow down your reactions. Slow down your reactions to what happens in the world, to what happens in your own private life, because everything can feel really loud and really chaotic and really unnecessarily evil and urgent and terrible. But if you pause before deciding, if you pause before responding, if you pause before your inner critic, your discerning mind comes up and is like, well, we knew it. The world is a terrible place. No sense in trying. So many of us have this frustrated voice within ourselves. But when you slow down those reactions, it gives your intuition the space to tell the difference between a fear, an impulse, genuine inner knowing, all of these things that will swirl around in your mind and in your heart, because it's really easy to mix those things up. It's really, really easy to think that an anxious reaction, a fear reaction is intuition. And the only way that you can tell them apart is by slowing down, by taking the time to really access your actual intuition and your actual inner knowing. You're not going to get it within a second a lot of the time. Maybe one day you will, if you have trained your intuition so well and you have trained yourself to listen to it so well that you can immediately access it. But most of the time, when we react to things, we react from old triggers, we react from old patterns, and not from our true inner knowing and our highest selves. So, giving ourselves that time and that space is really, really important. And that is the third lesson. Slow down your reactions, slow down your thoughts before you decide anything, before you discern whether something is intuition or fear or anxiety. And then things will become much, much clearer if you stop yourself from immediately responding to everything with an emotion or with a thought. Now, the fourth thing I want to give as an advice is to not focus so much on single moments. I already said this in the first one. One single dream is not always the biggest revelation. What we're looking for with intuition is patterns. Your intuition, your subconscious mind are automatically looking for those all around you. They're automatically identifying patterns. Some people are better at it and some people are worse at it. And then, whether you're better or worse, you also have to believe in your intuition. So, if it's just one feeling, if it's just one situation, if it's just one thought, it could just be a mood, it could be a reaction to a trigger. But if you get repeated nudges about the same thing in the same direction, you get the same information, the same symbolism, similar dreams or similar feelings in your dreams, then that's something trying to come through. So, looking at what resurfaces during those moments, how that pattern builds, it can help you. Your subconscious mind usually takes care of that, but you can make your conscious mind a part of that too by asking yourself, what is a recurring feeling that you have right now? Maybe you have a recurring dream, or you have a recurring feeling within your dreams, or maybe you have a recurring situation in your daily life that is trying to teach you something. Maybe the same thing keeps happening over and over with different people, or there's certain zodiac signs maybe that you keep running into and you keep having similar lessons with them. And all of that can point you towards something that the universe is trying to tell you, and that your intuition is probably trying to work out, but you're not giving it enough space. You're not listening to your intuition. Your intuition isn't loud enough. If the same thing keeps happening over and over again, then it can show that you are not really listening to your inner knowing, to your intuition, but you're just kind of acting from old patterns. So, identifying those patterns and then taking a step back, thinking outside the box, asking your intuition very consciously, what are you trying to tell me about this? Why does this keep happening? Can be very, very helpful. So, that is the fourth lesson. Check for patterns, not for single moments, not for single feelings, but for patterns of reoccurring dreams, situations, people, emotions. And then lastly, we have the fifth thing, and that is to, as much as you can, ground your intuition in reality. What I mean by that is that there's not this dichotomy of intuition versus reality. It's not intuition versus logic. The two work in tandem. Logic is just the language of our conscious mind, and intuition is the language of our subconscious mind. That's all there is to it. Our conscious mind can take up, like, I don't know, it's a few dozen or hundred information at once, and our subconscious mind can take up like 10,000 or even more. I'm very bad with numbers, but it is so much more that our subconscious mind is looking at in any given moment that our subconscious mind cannot all process. So at the end, what we learn from that is not that there is logic of the conscious mind and intuition of the subconscious mind. It's that intuition and that inner knowing is much more founded in reality, funded in reality, grounded in reality. You know what I mean? I'm not a native speaker. Whereas what seems like logic to us is just our conscious mind repeating the same patterns over and over again. So write down or think very clearly, but better if you write it down, what you are sensing. If you had to put it into words, what is it that your intuition is telling you about what is right for you, what direction you want to go in, what path you want to take, what decision you want to make, what person is good for you, what place is good for you, what work is good for you, what routine is good for you. Think about anything that your intuition is kind of pushing you towards, or that the universe with everything that is happening is pushing you towards, and figure out how to work with that and what you can verify. Like if your intuition has been telling you that maybe this thought keeps coming to you that you should be a carpenter or something. I know that's the second time I'm using this example. Maybe I should be a carpenter. How can you verify that? How can you, with your conscious mind, decide to step into that vision, to step into what would the world be like if that intuition was true? Or if your intuition is telling you that someone is betraying you, or that something isn't right for you, what would a different world look like? What would a desirable world look like? And we're kind of getting into dreaming and visioning and manifestation with this, because in the end, your intuition will always guide you towards what you are meant to experience and what is right for you and what is good for you. So tuning into those fantasies or those ideas that you have about your intuition, like what your intuition is giving to you, can help you hone in on what is truly, truly right for you. And especially when you realize that both point the same way, that your intuition is pointing the same way as your logic, and you are envisioning it and you feel good about it, that can bring you a very, very powerful clarity that you can then work with. So the fifth lesson is try to connect your intuition and your logic. Try to envision what the consequence of your intuition, of your dreams, of your visions would be, and how that feels to you, and how you can make that a reality. And that's all. Do like this video, do subscribe if you enjoyed it. And I'm really happy to hear in the comments what your connection to your own intuition is, if you've always felt connected to it, if you have very vivid dreams, or if maybe it's a bit of a difficult thing for you to trust it and to tune into it. You can't quite tell it apart from anxiety, from fear. So I hope that all of these ideas kind of helped you just develop a little bit of a better relationship with your intuition, and that all the questions I asked are inspiring to you. Once again, do check out my Patreon. I'd be so happy if you join. And I'm also happy if you subscribe and if you like this video, and to hear from you in the comments. Thank you so, so much for being here. And I will see you next time on this channel.